Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and welcome back to another episode of... So I think this has probably been, like a week and a day or something like that, potentially. But either way, 7 days it says on my channel, so it's time once again to loop back around to My Tiny Human. And last we left off, things weren't exactly going super well, whether in terms of episode quality or in terms of the actual story itself and things that are happening to people. But is that grounds for all of them to actually split up? Well, I guess we'll find out, because it does seem like there's going to be, well, there's already some discourse sown between them, but they seem to be tied together by just their connections and their survival instincts. So, if they're on their own, they've got to have a sense that they're going to be better off that way, or simply a intense desire to get away from each other, which in the case of Elliot and Avery would be somewhat appropriate. In terms of Adele, don't know, she hasn't really been around that long, so yeah, who's to say? But yeah, or it could just be a case of, all right, gang, let's split up so they can't catch us all, which is probably going to backfire. I don't know, but either way, I guess we're going to find out now. Let's see if this episode is going to make up for the sins of the previous one. Without further ado, on with the review. And also hi to both of you. All right, anyway, fine. Go straight and take your right and place him on the bed. I'll be there. What? Go straight and take your right and play. Wow. Okay. Immediately a tone setter right there. Also, eye patch. I actually do wonder. I don't know what the rules are in terms of medical professionals being allowed to, to practice with eye patches, because I have to imagine that as far as like vision obstruction, I guess I have to prove that it's not going to affect your performance or something. I don't know. He should be fine within a few hours. He had digested food poisoning, as opposed to undigested food poisoning. Not enough to kill a wolf, but since he's tinier, it could have easily killed him. Just a few hours of rest and he should be good to go. Yeah, that is a fair point. There's not really, from what I understand, there's not really much that you can do about food poisoning, aside from, I guess, giving like, digestive medication potentially, if that. But I don't know. In fact, actually, let's see, when COVID was making the rounds before everything shut down, the head of department in the drama department, a university, the one university I was in, actually said to people, don't make COVID become the new food poisoning, because people apparently use food poisoning a lot as an excuse for not, coming in on a day they didn't feel like it, because it was, a thing you could easily contract, not threatening to them, and then would lead to its own recovery in due time, usually like a day or so. And like, obviously that's not exactly a one-to-one comparison with COVID, but in terms of, something that, you would have a viable excuse to have contracted, I think was the idea. And also because we were relatively quite young, so it would statistically be less likely to threaten our lives if that were the case. I think that's what they were worried about. But yeah, that's why food poisoning, very usually minor in terms of diseases. Anyway, thank you so much, Doctor. It's no biggie. And who's this cutie? All right. Her name's Adele. I always find it strange when people will like say, "Oh, and who's this person here?" instead of like just addressing them directly. Never understood that. Anyway, you're so cute you could pop any second. What, from like a hug? Like you're squeezing her so much you could like pop? Or like cuteness being like explosive? What does that mean? So how old are you? 43. Oh, okay, wait, 21? Oh yeah, I guess she was a trainee, right? Yes, she was just entering the workforce before like things happened to her. So yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, 21 makes sense. You know Adele the same age. The same age as who? What do you mean like the same age as the doctor? Do you know the doctor's age? Avery, what? You're welcome to come anytime. Yeah, not keeping count of the grammar today. No, but seriously, the same age as who exactly? Now, you know what? I'm just going to read that again just to make sure. Yeah, no, never mind. Although, if that is the case, actually, if it's saying like if the same age as the Doctor, that would almost imply that they might have been in some of the same classes. They might have gone to the same school if that's the case. You got to wonder actually, because in Adele's case, you would think that anyone recognizes like the name Adele and like her general features, and knows that she hasn't been seen for however long Adele has been a human for. You think that they would potentially start to suspect something, right? I guess that hasn't come up so far, but it very easily could. Also, inappropriate music for 500, please. Does it even go to 500 for 400? I don't, whatever. Anyways. Changing courses and preparing for takeoff. Dispatching countdown. Dispatching 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, decent shaking cam effect. And use of the narrator feature. Well, I guess they've been doing that already. I just blocked that out. Yeah, they've been doing that the whole time. Launch successful. I guess in fairness, if you see a launch from inside, it probably would look like that with no windows. Change alt level to lively. Is that a standard setting? Lively? Anyways. Hello everyone, this is Dispatcher Hello everyone, this is Dispatcher Vivian. We are now on course to planet 4546b. You get the reference? You get the reference. Oh, unfortunately I don't. Trip course won't be too long. Not too long, it won't be too long. Thanks to new engine courses, the trip will only take a week. I mean, how long would it normally take is the question, I guess. Okay, we're good. Even though our plane, as in like our plane, but oh god, okay. Even though our plane is secure, we should work on it. You should work on something else, but not the plane necessarily. Agreed. Ah, yes, I forgot the character's voice I gave him, but anyway. Boo. When are you not acting like a child? When we get there. I mean, this could be our last moments together. What, do you think the ship's gonna crash or something? You gotta convert those imperials and metrics, otherwise things happen. I'd rather than be happy than serious. What's wrong with serious? he says, smiling. What's not wrong with Sirius? You've won. What? That was easy. You've won me over. Fine. I was thinking maybe we could go socialize instead of sitting in here the entire trip. That's honestly might be like a little bit awkward to do. Like I've got to imagine in like your big office environment, something like that. The bosses will need to socialize at some point, but I assume it's like incredibly awkward to do with the employees, right? I don't know. Talking to the wrong demographic here, obviously, but Sure. I don't get why people hate humans. I like them so much I'm balancing one on my head. As a medical professional, I'm very okay with risking injury. Anyway, yeah. Maybe because people think they're small and incompetent. Possessive, they're small and incompetent. I mean, that should be non-threatening in that case. And/or Rodus. And/or normally has a slash, by the way. Yeah. But they're wrong. When did you get your human? Oh, we got a timeline now. Oh, never mind. Not too long ago, actually. Where are you going? Not too long ago. I met him in an alleyway. My life wouldn't be the same without him. I wouldn't be a fugitive of the law, certainly, so yes, I guess that's true. I could say the same. Okay, we didn't get this exact same music across the entire episode. I mean, come on, Gacha Shipper, you've done better than this before, I'm pretty sure. Anyways. I know you're hiding them. You're hiding them. What did you say? I didn't say anything. What did you say? Young lady, I didn't say anything. What do you say when you hide your lover? What do you say when you run fast? What do you say when you can't recover? What do you say? What do you say? Yeah, honestly, I'd back up too, lady. For various reasons. Anyways, Avery! Wow, again, dude, I forgot about this. They went back home, didn't they? Oh, yeah, not only did they take them to a hospital that, thankfully, with a doctor that likes humans, but they also managed to go back to, once again, the exact same place that has been ransacked twice now to get to them. Avery? Maybe she's having a bad day. Possibly. And after that, something Oh, wait, is Avery narrating now? Like, actually narrating? Okay, kind of weird to introduce that again in, like, the 6th episode, 4 minutes in, but okay. It was like I stabbed, hurt, or killed my family. Kill your family, kill your family, kill your... Oh, he's watching the Kill Your Family channel again. If you don't get that, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge reference, which, by the way, plan to watch that after, because apparently episode 89 came out, was like a few hours ago, I think. Or it was 2 days, one or the other. Like I betrayed and backstabbed them after all they did for me. I mean, there's definitely some sense here of, like, like turning your back on, like, whatever, like, beliefs you had instilled on you or something. But this is also the first time I think we've mentioned Avery's family in ages now. Like, it's never... Like, I think she mentioned why she lives alone or something, but... yeah, she's never really thought about or interacted with her family in any meaningful way until this scene. So it somewhat feels artificial to put this back in without having any sort of clue what dynamic they actually have with each other. Like, yeah, sitcoms will introduce like will like talk about like new relatives and comparisons all the time, but then they usually will have someone guest star and be the relative in that situation to give us more of a sense of what's going on. Show don't tell. But in this one, yeah, we're getting told certainly. I just left them for the enemy. At the time, I was too stupid to realize it wasn't Elliot or Adele's fault. Oh, is she referring to okay, is she referring to them as her family? Does that mean that, when they say separate ways, is she referring to something that she hasn't done yet but is going to do, looking back at the past here? Huh. Although if she leaves them now, it's the house is in her name, pretty sure. Anyway, and Elliot and Adele. They thought they could trick me into hating my own people. When exactly did they do that? Adele was one of your own people. What are you talking about? Okay, actually, to take a step back for a second here, it's possible that what's happening to Avery here. Well, I say it's possible. Again, most of you watching this live have already seen this, or watching the VOD later on. But for those that don't, I'm getting the sense right now that Avery is experiencing some form of like hallucinations and/or I think schizophrenia is the right term. Like that lady didn't actually say anything to her in the restaurant. She just presumed that she did, because she sensed that, and then something in her brain is convincing her that those that she that she loves and that love her will that have like turned against her. Maybe that's what's happening. So yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes, and I'll reserve judgment until then. Anyway, how could this have been poisoned? Okay, food poisoning doesn't necessarily always mean like an artificial poisoning. It can, but I'm fairly certain the food poisoning is just a sense like, like if food goes bad, it will poison your system in that situation. And also, it's entirely possible, like, I think I said this before, that, Ed's been eating wolf food this whole time, and I guess he survived off of that. But considering that humans are canonically aliens, it stands to reason that, their bodies are just not evolved to digest the food on this planet in general. So, yeah, just this could be simply a thing that humans that is not suitable for human consumption. It's entirely possible. Even species on from one singular planet alone have that variation to them. You know, you get like dogs and chocolate being the most famous example. That was because of the exterminators. Oh, so you're saying that the exterminators poisoned the cupcake on purpose, knowing that you would come back and eat it and then go to a hospital. I mean, I guess if I were the exterminators and I already knew that Ava returned to her house once before, maybe I would assume that she was that stupid. Maybe. Okay, great. So they purposely did that. I mean, honestly, I can't fault them. They returned to the house once, they could return again. It's yeah. If they were stupid one time, they can be stupid again. Anyways, I need help. Okay, with what? I did what you showed me to turn on the manufacture machine, but it says there's a problem. Did you? Dear employee, starting today, every suspect for holding. Hold on, I need to zoom in. StreamYard's not like letting me see this fully. Okay, here we go.
Dear employee, starting today, every suspect for holding a human must be put on a list. If someone gets suspected 3 times, then they're on their 3rd time exterminators.
Okay, they're on their 3rd time exterminators, implying that the exterminators are going to be dispatched every time someone's suspected, as is definitely the case. But then why point out that if they're suspected 3 times, they're on their 3rd time exterminators? That's just logical, right? You know, if you get suspected 3 times, the exterminators will come 3 times. What are you even talking about right now? The only new information here is the list, I suppose, because I mean, you think there'd be some sort of like list or registry if someone's like suspected, especially multiple times. But then again, that's also just a criminal record. So I feel like that would probably have happened anyway. Also, glad you like the voice. Oh, also, new okay, so 3 times the okay, so 3 times exterminators. Okay, so it continues. Wait, what was the end of the sentence then, if that's the case? Yeah. Okay, then on their 3rd time exterminate. Okay, that's why, because I think there was no comma there or anything, so I was confused. Okay. Alright.
Their 3rd time exterminators are free to put traps or food poisoning if 100% sure a wolf is hiding a human. This shall make it easier to move the protected out of the way.
I mean, that also this seems like a general like government announcement, basically, rather than you know just like a localized like company thing. Unless they think that people here are more likely to hide wolves in this company than anyone else. I wouldn't have thought so, but possibly. But yeah, normally they don't like announce changes to the law like this. Not usually anyway. Arguably more governments should do that actually to get this so they don't catch people off guard as much.
If anyone does not follow this new rule, they'll be talking to the CEO for further instructions.
Instructions on what? Clearing their desk and getting fired? What do you mean instructions? Also, they're talking to the CEO. So what? You mean like someone who works for the company is liable to these rules and not a general citizen? But we've seen in the situation with Avery that she does not work for the company and she is a general citizen that is that is still subjected to this. So is this like a company rule now? It's like, yes, if we find out from that you've had the exterminators called on you 3 times, then we're gonna take disciplinary action of our own. I guess.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Guess that makes sense. You guess, yeah. Once you have time to ruminate over the language of it, if that's what's being called over an announcement, I'd just be like, wait, what the heck did that person just say? Being able to read it is doing all the heavy lifting for me. Every year they add some stupid rule. I feel like they're just making up humans and things like that to make us work more. How does that help you work more? It's an announcement to say don't hide a human. You know, don't do something you might be doing already. How is that making you work more? Wouldn't be shocked. When has the government ever been truthful here? Well, I mean, I guess I guess this is the flashback confirming that it was in fact true that they could do that. Exterminators were only allowed to if they were 100% sure. And when Elliot screamed, she was 100% sure because Elliot screamed. But then they just like search the bag. If you're 100% sure, just what? That's why Elliot got sick, because they knew that they would come back. Okay, also another thing about this. I know that I said that, it's easy for them to assume that Avery would be that stupid to come back, but if they put the poison in during the search, when they were 100% sure, first of all, they let them go and then just said, like, okay, they'll come back. If that's the procedure that they're trained to do, if that's standard, that suggests that all wolves are so brain dead that they would all return to the same location that's already been searched twice before. The fact that Avery is so ridiculous to have done that, and Elliot and Adele never questioned this either, is one thing. But an entire population that is just that dumb, like, come on, what are they, Americans or something? I need to tell Avery so she can throw this all away. Yeah, before she comes down and, takes a bite out of a cookie or something. I don't know. Avery, I know why Elliot got sick. The exterminators. Hey. Get out of my house right now. Get hooked. I think I'm done to come back. She's still an 18-year-old, so, like, make still young. Okay. Yes, she is an 18-year-old. And obviously anyone can say, like, oh yes, when I was 18, I wouldn't have been that dumb. I guess none of us have been, well, most of us here, I'd say, would not have been fugitives at the age of 18. But also, I feel like even then, that's not really saying much. That's not really saying much in terms of, like, even if you're like, I mean, she's 18, not 8. Put it that way. Like, I know the general advice is, don't go to a second location, but when you're one picking the second location, I think it's fine. Anyway. Hey. Hey, what's wrong? You seem upset. You're still here. That's what's wrong. And the word you're. Get out of my house. Would you be happy if I left? More than happy. Then I'll leave. Then what are you waiting for? That actually does seem like a legitimate, like, Elliot reaction here, because he knows that he's affected her life so much. Not to the degree of schizophrenia necessarily, but certainly, but certainly, causing her so many issues by his mere, presence, in his mind. So yeah, that makes more sense. As far as Adele goes, yeah, she probably should be suspecting something a bit more, or maybe just, like, mention, by the way, your food's poisoned. Without backstabbers, it was gonna have a crash out. Yeah, so are her kidneys. I mean, it's understandable she kicked me out, but I never thought she'd kick you out too. Mind if I sit? Not at all. Mama was right. All wolves are traitors. I skipped some scenes? Did I? Let me go back and check. Yeah, no. Without backstabbers, and then... yeah, that's it. There's nothing else here. Look, I'll let it play. I'm not pressing anything. It just goes there. Yeah. I don't know. This is how it comes packaged. I mean, does the music skip around? Because that might be a giveaway. Let's see. Yeah, no. Avery had an argument with Adele. Well, I mean, I remember, like, the argument of, like, Avery's, like, there, but then she's like, get out of my house. But that's really it. Like, it didn't seem like that was much else that was going on there. Yeah, maybe there's a scene missing. Oh, by the way, I saw, like, the flickering camera thing of the screenshots. It's not as obvious as in way down low, but I guess it's still there. I was gonna say, because the music is edited so it doesn't seem like it's, you know, there's anything missing. You thought it'd be like an obvious jump, but no. What happened to your parents? They came here to study the planet for my uncle. They worked with him, and they brought me, a child, along with them. When they got it, oh right, my mom was 9 months pregnant. I assume that that means that he was probably conceived like in space, like during the space travel. Okay. They wanted to have me here, and they were so excited. Hold on. They wanted to have you here on an unexplored planet that could contain a hostile environment, did contain a hostile population, and they just didn't check that at all. The plan they had was that they'd live in the plane because it had everything they needed. That part makes sense. I've seen a lot of, like, you know, honestly, with anything to do with like space travel and such, you would think that they would use that. I don't know if they couldn't get a plane, actually. But even then. But it crashed and a wolf saw it happen. They took what they could from the plane and the wolf helped them. I think this is, what was like, Kathy was her name? Marcy's mom. But then when I was 6 years old, the wolf betrayed us. She called the exterminators and they surrounded the house. My mom grabbed me and my dad made sure we got out. Guess who the wolf was? Well, I mean, we did. Yeah, that was stated in episode 4/beginning of 5. Yeah. I still remember the bang of the guns hitting the door. I do love whenever that's a cliche I like, as you know. I still remember the blank thing, you know, of that, and you like fill in the blanks yourself as the reader/watcher. I always like that. Anyway, they took my parents and I hid in the basement. One day later, I left the basement because I wanted to save them, like all the heroes in the comic books. The heroes don't wait 24 hours, but sure. But I got there and I saw them. Wait, hold on. No, go back. Did I miss that? One day later, exactly. I was gonna say that they just left their corpses there or something. I'm guessing that they left their corpses, okay. They cut up on my mom. It's okay. I swear I'll never let that happen to you. Interesting that he cut the mum and not the dad. Does that imply the dad was taken somewhere? Promise? Promise. What happened after that? They made a book of Wolf's weaknesses. I stole things and lived off their instructions. Wolf's weaknesses? But one day I ran out of ingredients for the defenses my parents created. Oh, right. So it's like you had to like construct different things to, like, you know, ward them off, essentially. Okay. Ah, well, there you go. See, notice something there. I thought I ran to a park to look for instructions. For ingredients, but. And I was digging through the trash. To be fair, actually, you know, the wolves having something in the trash that would, you know, defeat them is actually kind of reasonable, because it would be like, you know, they would have it be disposable waste, right? That's when I met Avery. Hello? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that scene. The little traps aren't going too well. Well, I guess without the ingredient, you know what? That's fair. And with only one left... What? Did it go? Oh. I never thought that would lead to this, though. Honestly, it's almost the same alleyway. That's a nice detail. Let's go look for something to eat. Then you'll feel better. Good job, Elliot. Oh, right. Oh, this is like... Okay. This feels like the music's gonna fade out into like an action sequence here. Okay. Yeah.
Shut it, human! I'm taking a nap!
Okay, that feels like there was a scene that got skipped there. And the music doesn't account for that. Okay, yeah, that's definitely weird. Yeah, you're 100% correct that it feels like stuff is missing. Maybe not that like the argument necessarily, but yeah, something in between there. Although I guess it could have been just like a hard cut. But also, who puts like melancholy, slow music over an action sequence? Really? That's what we're gonna go with? All right, okay. I mean, sure. I guess that was the episode. That is indeed it. And how does it fare compared to the other ones? Well, it's definitely better than episode 5. I wasn't pulling out my hair nearly as much or anything. And presuming that what Ava's going through, given like the whole like corruption and everything that seems to be there. Again, I'm not an expert on this, and you know, neurological conditions in general are a blind spot for me in terms of knowledge. I just remember like how one of my friends from sixth form described his schizophrenia. I feel like that's why I went with that comparison. Although then again, it is Gacha, so who's suspecting accuracy when it comes to mental health, honestly? But yeah. All right. Anywho, that's how that commented on my last live stream. Well, the not the glitch review. That was it was the way down low. I would take the glitch review. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I'll check that later. I haven't got like any hate comments on this channel since like 2018. That's quite impressive, actually. And the 2018 comments were 100% my fault, but you know, I've already talked about that. I'm going to have my first video regarding Gacha, actually. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like all this stuff, it seems like we're setting up like further questions in the future. They're not, and this episode more than any other creates questions for that are intentional rather than confusion questions around something that's going on. Once you like, you know, get through a couple of weird things, the grammar is still utterly atrocious on all fronts. Sometimes it becomes like nigh on incomprehensible. Other times it's just a case of, you know, the wrong you're, the wrong there. You know, that's every gacha video almost. But yeah, some of the time, like, you know, head right or something like that, or you know, a few like key instructions. You think, you know, for sure it's like heavy on like giving on like revealing the answers. Yeah. As far as like the separate ways thing goes, I did think there would be something major to come between the characters that would separate them, like potentially Elliot realizing like how controlled he is, similar to, I guess, the previous live stream where we talked about Matty's distancing from Meena. Or was it Alex? I think it's either Alex or Matt. I keep forgetting which one was Meena's friend, but one of them no, it was Matty. Yeah, Matty just seems to from Meena because he felt like he was being controlled by her because of her assertive personality. And to be perfectly honest, I do have a friend who is like that, who essentially like phrases all of his like advice and recommendations as imperatives to make them feel like orders and instructions. But yeah, that's one thing. Was like, oh yeah, once you realize it, it's like, you know, okay, sure, he's not trying to be malicious at all. This is just kind of what he's used to doing. But yeah, like in terms of Avery, that was definitely more of like, she has to be more controlling because Elliot is such a loose cannon. And that's what I assumed would be the thing to like break them apart, because that was a pre-existing issue that they were still going through. the whole schizophrenia thing, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the actual proper thing that she's going through is called, is something that we have never seen her struggle with up until this episode, and it comes to a boiling point right now. We get the scene in the shop is good at, like, building up that idea that something is definitely wrong, because that's why I caught on to it. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked more earlier to justify it. This is the thing with, like, unscripted gacha shows, and in certain cases even, like, scripted ones, where it feels like if they haven't got, like, a full plan of, like, where things are gonna go, like, yes, there are definitely shows that can run on that principle. Dragon Ball being, like, the most obvious example, the most famous example, I would argue, of a story that was, not pre-planned, but worked on as, essentially on the fly. That style is definitely not for everyone in terms of, and a lot of gacha tubers will use that style and introduce other plots and premises that either contradict stuff that came before, reframe it in some weird and bizarre way without considering the consequences, or will just be simply a thing to introduce to move the story along, without considering if there's, like, any better alternatives or any other stories that can be told, like, the same with like the establishment you've already got, without having to introduce random other things on top of everything. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's definitely a case of, like, it's definitely not as an effective tactic in the wrong hands. And I think in terms, like, gachubas in general, like, ever since Lily Trescott, I think, that's definitely been a technique in the wrong hands. Lily Trescott, not really, I guess, like, the first example, again, the most famous example in terms of gacha videos and series where, like I said before, the first series that she ever did could have ended in 3 episodes, but the plot kept, like, she kept on adding, like, random other bits on top to keep going. And I think that's also what happens with a lot of mini movies, actually, because people demand a part 2, and then the creators give in and give them a part 2, but they have to, like, go through, sequelitis, basically. What do you do to follow up a story that was originally so, so tied together? That's why a lot of, like, GLMMs have, like, are already made as part 1s in the first place, to give people that same satisfaction. And it's definitely a case of, like, do the creators stick to to their guns in terms of, like, ending something when it's supposed to, or do they keep going? And that's why, for things like, I say this again as the person who has, I guess, now the second longest running gacha series on YouTube. That one is designed so that it could continue. It's as a slice of life series, it could continue. The more the characters grow up, there's more stories to tell. But the moment that I run out of stories to tell with those characters is the moment the show ends. So, that may happen in, like, in 2 seasons, because we technically started writing season 4 ages ago. It could happen in 3. It could happen, I don't know. We could decide to cut it short. With the finale of season 3. I'm not that cruel. But not every story is like that. There's some other ones, like Popular, for example, which I haven't updated in ages. That one is specifically 8 episodes, and there is nothing further from that. But yeah, that's really it, to be honest. If anything, Popular could have been 7 episodes now that I think about it, but it was 8 because it was meant to be split across 2 different channels. I need an even spread. Anyway, oh, that's a new pose for me. That's always something to bear in mind for anyone who's writing a gacha series, or, or like, wants to, like, build a world in order to, like, inhabit these things and, like, make a complex story. Work with that, make that what you want, and then go with, like, Believer in Gasoline, for example, where, not everything is planned out, but a lot of it is, like, there's a sense of, like, where the story is going beyond what we've seen so far. Example of a scripted series, even though it's non-voice acted. Another reason why scripts are so good in terms of making gacha stuff, because it does help diminish this issue. again, you 100% you can do this. It's possible to pull this off a series like on the fly like this, but it's not a technique I recommend to most people unless I know like how their writing style and their writing style supports it. And in terms of the Gacha Shipper, I'm not entirely convinced that is the case. She's definitely someone who had a lot of ideas, just not necessarily how to string them all together and make them seem like they were all there from the get-go. But alright, I've got a comment to check right now and a Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge video to watch directly after that. So I'm gonna head off now. And again, I won't be like streaming for a couple of days or something probably, but maybe one day. We'll see. But either way, for now, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.